And I mean, when you're an entrepreneur, I think, it all starts when you start a business. I think it all starts with knowing what that desire is. Like, what am I trying to accomplish, right? Like, why am I doing this? What is the ultimate goal? Hey everybody, welcome back to Solid, episode 16. I'm here with my co-host Brandon Neal, and I'm excited, man, to talk to you about today's topic. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It is going to be good. Yeah, this is something that I think will be very helpful for a lot of people that we've had an opportunity to experience all sides of it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think Brandon and I have been talking recently just about the difference of the mindset between an employee and an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. And also the difference in mindset just between success or mediocrity, right?
Right.
And I think one of the things I just wanted to bring up at the very beginning as we get started is talking to people about why I think it's so important to be an entrepreneur. You know, one of the things I've always tried to do with my life is edify entrepreneurship and why the free enterprise system is so incredible. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a lot of examples you could use about like the Wright brothers, you know, were racing against the government to build an airplane. The Wright brothers had no budget and really no experience, they had a passion and excitement and some drive to turn it into something real and compete with, a government funded institution at the time, right?
Yeah.
And the Wright brothers win.
That's cool. Yeah, that passion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think entrepreneurship, another word might be just being in the creative stage. We need more people to be in the creative stage. And I think as we talk about this today, for me, growing up around maybe more of an employee mindset, and then, being fortunate enough to be introduced to the business ownership side of things very early in my life, when I was in my early 20s, and recognizing the contrast between how I used to think as an employee and even as an employee, I remember thinking about the owners or who I was working for, the owner, like in construction, who the general contractor was, which at that time was my cousin, and paying attention to how he operated and recognizing the difference between my role as an employee and his role as a business owner. And I don't know what it was, but for whatever reason, maybe it was just what my parents taught me. You be the hardest working person and you want to look good in that guy's eyes. And I think that because I always wanted to look good in my boss's eyes, I think that when I became a business owner, that automatically was in me where I wanted to look good in my, not employee, in my business partner's eyes.
Right.
Right? I want to be out working
Which
everybody.
Was your character, right? That was a character trait you wanted people to see in you.
Right.
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 That's awesome. Yeah, I think, first of all, I grew up in a family where there was no success around. So I don't know. I always wanted to be successful. And so one of the things I started realizing at an early age is that most of the people that had the life that I want owned businesses. Right? It was very rare. In fact, still to this day, I don't think that I've ever met somebody who had a job or was an employee that had the life that I wanted, which was like freedom. I wanted options. I wanted to be able to travel. I wanted to have, I wanted to design my own schedule. I wanted to stay in that creative stage, which is like solving problems, which I think everybody loves to do.
Right.
Right. And so I just never met somebody that had a job that had all of that. And so everybody always saw that had those things. They owned businesses. So it just always made me think like, dang, man, I want their life. And so then I don't know how I realized this early on. When I first started working with you, I realized that you thought so much differently than me, right? That your perspective. And at that time, I don't know, how long had you been in the business?
So what year did you start?
In 2006.
So I was in the business for 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
So you were, 5 years into entrepreneurship and having a lot of success at that time. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I just realized it was like everything. You would just talk about something random and it would be so different than how I would think about the topic. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking like, dang, I've got to learn to think like that if I want to have his life.
Yeah.
I don't think most people think that way. I think most people think, oh, I don't agree.
Mm-hmm.
That's not me,
Mm-hmm.
right? You ever hear someone say, well, that's just not who I am? We go, we know that. We can see the results of it, right?
Yeah.
We see the results of that's not who you are, because who you are is the person that lives in the house that you live in, drives the cars you drive, goes to work every day, because that's how you see yourself, right?
Sure.
And I really think that if people understood that how you see yourself is the life that you're living.
Yeah.
Right. You've created that by the way you see yourself. So if you want a better life, you got to be willing to change. Right.
Yeah. And I mean, I remember you coming into the business and how just teachable you were. You came in with a learning mindset, not coming in trying to tell me how it should be. Right. And I've experienced both types of people. Right.
Yeah.
And the ones that, here's kind of, I've tried to keep this as a personal philosophy, is when I'm going into a situation where I'm meeting with somebody that knows a lot about a certain topic that I'm sure I don't know a lot about, I'm going in to listen and to learn more than I'm going to make statements about what I know.
Right.
Because I'm going to learn from them. And I think that maybe sometimes, it's easy to be, I don't know if intimidated is the right word, or maybe insecure. If somebody knows more than you, that you feel like you have to outdo them in your knowledge, or but I think some people are like that. They're
ego and pride get in the way for sure.
Yep. Instead of going, hey, I don't know a lot about this, I would like to hear and learn from you.
Yeah.
And really learn, and that's how I've really tried to be. I mean, and I think that in our former company we were with, we were the fastest young couple and youngest to go from a $0 to $1 million a year income. And I think it's because when I approached that business and I came into it, I knew that I didn't know anything.
Right.
And I tried to stay that way when it came to learning from those who had more experience in the business.
Right.
And there comes a point where you start to have success and you start to be the one that learns from those people. And then you have people coming into your business, and it was very easy for me to tell who I was going to be able to help and who I couldn't help. You came in and you were willing to learn. You just everything. You were my office manager for one, so we just went to lunch a bunch, and you were just, I didn't know it at the time because I didn't recognize you being a sponge, and you were paying attention to how the meetings were going. You were paying attention to how Lexi and I ran the business because you were kind of took over her role when we had Jersey and you were just a sponge. And then when you were ready to start building the business, you continued that. And that's, I think, why you became the fastest to $0 to 400, 500 licensed agents in the company history.
Yeah.
Because you were that way, your people followed your lead too.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. I think a lot of this, we talk about this today in entrepreneurship and building a business. It's not, in some ways it might be difficult, but it's not as difficult as some people may make it.
Right.
I think it's seeking out somebody who is successful, and then finding out a way to be in front of them. And one good way to do that might be to find a way to serve them in some way. You might, I see her right down modeling there, but because, it's like if I want to be a general contractor, I might go seek out some general contractors and say, can I come work with you?
Right.
And work with you in your business and learn from you. I want to be a general contractor, but I would like to come and learn from you. And now I don't want to make them feel like I'm going to just take all their traits and become their competition.
Right.
But I might not even tell them I want to be a general contractor. But if I want to learn from the best, I want to go seek out the best, go work for them. And the more time I can work for them and learn from them, the better off I'm going to be when I go start my own deal.
Right.
Right. So I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people out there right now that are maybe in a situation. I'm at a job. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. Talked to somebody just a couple weeks ago. Man, I'm struggling a little bit financially. I'd like to get out of this. And I said, well, hey, I got some opportunities that I could potentially help you with. And they're like, oh no, I don't. That's not me, right?
Yep.
I don't want to. So I'm like, well, okay.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people in that boat where they go, I want to change my situation, but I don't want to change.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of times is because they don't understand that when you're choosing how you're going to make money in the United States, you're also choosing the system in which is going to produce the reward for your effort, right? Mm-hmm. So like, going back to the cash flow quadrants, like if you're an employee, the only way to make more money is to trade more hours. Right? So it's like, if you want to make more money, like what are the odds that your boss is going to double your income next month? I mean, it's just probably not going to happen, right?
No.
And it doesn't happen. And you see it in the world a lot of times today. People get so mad and they're like, they want raises and they complain about not being paid enough. But yet, when's the last time they went to a course for leadership, or they read another book to, get better at their current career, or they showed up 15 minutes early every day for months in a row, or,
right.
Like how many people that do those things are, complaining about being low paid? I mean, if you're complaining about not making enough money, the fact of the matter is you're probably not doing the things that make you more valuable.
Yeah.
Right. And so a lot of times I think employees get frustrated there. They don't make enough money and they don't realize that the way to make more money in that system is to trade more time. But you chose that system, right? So you don't have to be an employee. And then if you don't want to be an employee, you become self-employed, right? Which is just basically you work for yourself, you generate your own income. So whether that's a real estate agent or a salesperson or a doctor or, someone that, a plumber, an electrician, something like that, where they have to show up and they get paid, for that service, right? A lawyer, something like that. And the same thing, whether you're an employee or you're self-employed, you're trading time for money. And that's a hard thing because you're always making a sacrifice. It's like always these people that are on this side of the equation are always assume that if you're going to have a great life and make a lot of money, that you have to sacrifice time with your family. But that's because in their wheelhouse of how they make money, that is the thing that they have to do, right?
Correct.
And so, I don't know, then you can be a business owner, which a business owner, you can build a system, which, it's going to take time and effort and all the things we'll talk about today. But then it spits out cash, potentially for generations. And then if you're wise with that cash, you can take that and then invest it, which, in the fourth quadrant of the cash flow quadrant is become an investor. And if you're wise, you'll take that cash flow that your business spits off and you'll invest it. And then that investment should spit off a passive cash flow that allows you to do that for generations to come, right?
Yep.
And so if you own a business, if you put, more effort and more energy, you don't necessarily have to trade more hours because you can invest money to solve a problem. You can recruit new talent to solve a problem. It's not this thing like, I have to work more hours to get more money. There are other ways to increase profits, which increase your income without having to sacrifice time with your family or the things you want to do, right?
Yep.
And so I think this is why people need to be an entrepreneur, is because they need to realize that in America, in the free enterprise system, it was designed for people to find a problem in society, solve it for the masses, and get paid a fortune for it, whether or not you show up, because you simply found a solution to a problem and made the lives of people easier, right? And you deserve to be paid a lot of money if you've made a lot of people's lives better because of whatever you've built.
Yeah, value,
Exactly.
That's always, there's a good way to be held accountable in business, and that is if you're getting paid well and it's working well, you're bringing a lot of value.
Yep.
If you're not and your business is failing, you're not bringing a lot of value.
Exactly.
That's your accountability. I think that unfortunately, the majority of the systems that are in place right now, that by the way were started way back when with school and the way school was set up. I mean, you think about school, Monday through Friday, in the daytime, live for the weekends, right? What does that sound like? A job. Yep. Right. So we are, the majority of the population is programmed to be in that E quadrant, that employee quadrant. So that's it. And being a business owner investor is, really a 180 degree different way of thinking.
Yeah. It's almost the exact opposite.
Almost the exact opposite. Yeah. And so, everybody wants to be, if everybody who's aware wants to be on that right side, they want to be a business owner or an investor.
Right.
Because you don't have to be there all the time to make your money.
Right.
You have the freedom to do more of what you want to do. You can leverage yourself and you can help more people. You can provide more value. You have leverage on the right side of the quadrant. So if everybody wants to be on the right side, why is everybody stuck on the left side? And it's because of our programming.
Yep.
Right. And so, for me, fortunately, we got involved in a business, you and I both did, that taught the cash flow quadrant and came into it and go, okay, we're going to work like an employee and self-employed person, like crazy, to build a business and start hiring and training other people teach them how to do what we're doing and duplicate ourselves so we can move to that right side and become a business owner, right? And override a system because we could build a team,
Right.
And so any business that I look at now starting, I'm looking at it going, okay, I don't want to be in my business.
Right.
I want to be working on my business.
Right.
Right.
In fact, if anybody looks at any successful company and they walk into a successful company, odds are, especially if they're a very large business, the owner of that company is not present at that location. Mm-hmm. They're not in there actually serving the clients and the customers. They're thinking about how can they grow it, whether they've got 500 locations.
The key, as you said, a successful company.
Yes.
Yes. There's a lot of companies where the owner is always there.
Yes, and it's not a successful business. They're still self-employed.
They might be making money. They might be making a lot of money.
And they might even think they own a business. Mm-hmm. But, usually when you see that happen, that owner-operator, where they're always constantly there, it's not really a business. They're actually self-employed because without them, the business doesn't succeed or doesn't run. And that should be a key. That's why I think leadership is so important. I think that's why, our whole message on podcast of solid men, being leaders and leading, great lives because it impacts not only your family and the people around us in our community, but the businesses that we run and operate, the people that we come into contact with and how we influence them to operate. And it really does make our communities better if people think like this.
It does. Well, I keep coming back to the word creativity because when we as human beings are being creative, we have a purpose. We operate better.
Right.
We're more friendly because we feel better about ourselves.
Yes.
And we're better parents.
Yep.
We're better spouses. And so, why do we need more business owners? Why if you're an employee right now, that's fine. I mean, we need great employees too. But I would encourage you, even if you're in an employee, and by the way, not all employees. I don't want to make it sound like employees are brain dead. That's not necessarily true either.
No, not at all.
I mean, I've had jobs where I didn't have to think very much and just show up and go through the motions. I think a lot of jobs are like that, and I don't think they're very healthy for people because you just don't have you're not made to think and be creative and where does my next client come from? And, you're just not thinking like the owner of the company in some of those roles.
Yeah, I think if people can use this thinking, you can be a very high performer in a job.
Yes.
And have a job and still make a lot of money. There are people that have jobs that make a lot of money. Mm-hmm. They're rare, but that's because the mindsets are rare because usually people that have this mindset do go start their own business.
Yeah.
Right. But you're going to have a better life. I mean, whether you have a job, you're an employee, you're self-employed, or you're a business owner, the fact is these kind of mindsets or ways of thinking or reacting to situations or how you respond are going to make your life better.
Yeah. How do you make yourself irreplaceable?
Yeah.
As an employee, you should be thinking, how can I, if you want security in your job, which there's probably very few jobs that really have security because you're not in control. You could be let go at any time. Things could change at any time. You're really not in control. And truthfully, I mean, if you're a business owner, you might have more control, but the reality is there's still things that are out of your control as a business owner.
Yeah, really the only security we really have is our ability to personally produce.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. Produce and train. Yeah. And so, I think, I can't remember where I was going with that with the employee thing, but I just think, becoming irreplaceable.
Yep.
If you can be that person, that's going to be some good job security there. And like I say, there are people out there that make great incomes and maybe you do have a great schedule and you got plenty of vacation and I think the key is, are you happy? Yeah. Are you happy where you're at? And if you can truly be happy and fulfilling a job and you're good with that, congratulations. Congratulations. Yeah,
I also think that you can still be happy, fulfilled, and still have a desire for more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? It doesn't mean you're ungrateful because you want more. You can be grateful. It's like saying that somebody that has, one child, that they're ungrateful for the one because they want two. Mm-hmm. No, you can want more children while still being grateful for the ones you have. Just like, you can want more in life and still love and be so grateful for what you have right now, but still desire. Like, there's nothing wrong with wanting more. In fact, if you want it more and you do it through the right ways, providing more value like you're talking about, finding solutions to people's problems, and you're providing solutions to people in our community, then you're going to have a better life. You're going to feel more fulfilled because I think when you're in that creative stage and you're looking for solutions and then you're getting paid for it and you feel like you matter to society, I think that's when people get in this groove of like realizing anything is possible. Mm-hmm. And then you look at those people and you're like, man, they're always happy. It seems like everything they touch turns to gold. Their life just seems like perfect. Well, it's no different than getting in a bad rut than it is a good rut. It's just deciding what habits you're going to have, right?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I think just really taking control of your life is what it comes down to, right? Whatever piece of the quadrant you're in. And, that's a big thing for me is I want to have complete ownership of my life. And in order to do that, I've got to make sure that I take responsibility. I'm where I'm at because of the decisions that I have made. Have outside influences impacted my life? Absolutely, right? Yep. But I'm still responsible how I react to those. And so... it's not necessarily the situation that we're in that matters. It's how we think about the situation that we're in, or how we react to that. And so I'm always looking for ways to take responsibility for whatever. If something tragic or bad happens in my life or in a day, I go, okay, what is my contribution to where I'm at? How did I get myself?
How did I end up here?
Yeah. So
what decisions did I make to end up here?
Yeah. So I can go, okay, I need to make some tweaks and changes here. And look, there are things that happen that are totally out of your control, and you still end up. But if you just play the victim to that, I think the thing is, okay, have I been preparing myself enough to when I find myself in those situations, I can get out of those situations as quickly as possible.
Yep.
So I think just all of this.
I think that's why fitness is so important. I think a lot of times, lifting heavy weights, and doing things that are hard or uncomfortable or, like the Murph or whatever it is, just finding something that you can push your mental barriers, because in business, there are going to be times where it's going to emotionally feel like that. And you have to be strong enough to continue to push through and respond positively. Right. And if you can do that, then you win. And I think the two go hand in hand so much.
Yeah. I did the Murph the other day, 106 degrees.
Oh, how long did it take you? 106. Did you time yourself even?
Yeah, it was 39 minutes. But again, that's
pretty good
without
106,
without the vest.
Yeah.
But I was dying. That last mile, oh my goodness, I thought I was going to pass out.
That last mile is the one. I tell Kelsey all the time. It's that if it's all mental.
Yeah.
Right. It's all mental.
Yeah. I usually work out in the mornings when it's cooler, but I did afternoon that day, and holy cow.
It's been hot lately.
Yeah.
It's been hot. But that's why I love doing things that are hard like that, because for me, I realize there is so much that goes hand in hand between building a business and being in a stage like that where you're working out, pushing yourself, whether it's 106 degrees and you're doing a Murph. It's like, why am I doing this to myself? Mm-hmm. And that happens a lot of time in business too. You end up in a situation like, why? What is going on?
Yeah.
What? Right?
Absolutely.
And then how do you respond? Because you're in the Murph, and here it's 106, mm-hmm. and it's not like it's mandatory. It's like, but you choose to do what? Finish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Doesn't matter the circumstances. I'm going to finish what I set out to do, and thinking about the finish line. And the same thing with a business. A lot of people, if they would just think like, hey, I don't care what happens. If it turns to 106 degrees and I'm about ready to die, I'm going across the finish line. I'm taking this to where I started.
Yeah, I just know how I'm going to feel if I don't complete it, right?
Yeah.
In the Murph workout. So same thing with business. I don't want to get to 5 years down the road and go, man, if I would have just kept after that, where would I be today? I don't want to be in that place. And I think that's important.
It reminds me of when somebody, you think about a job and owning a business too. You think about the payoff, because I think sometimes negotiate the price when they're going through challenges like that. If you're making $100,000 a year at a job and you're making $100,000 a year at a business, odds are you're making twice as much with the same amount of income. Mm-hmm. Let me explain. If you're making $100,000 a year at a job, and you quit that job, let's say you work for 10 years at your job, you're going to make $1 million, right? So
right.
Depending on taxes or whatever, let's say you make $1 million before taxes at this job. When you quit, your income stops. There's no value. You can't sell your job. What happens if you're making $100,000 a year at a business and you're making $100,000 a year profit, and you do that for 10 years, you make $1 million, but at the end of that 10 years, you can turn around and sell that business. Mm-hmm. And so that business is easily worth $1 million. So you actually make $1 million over those 10 years plus $1 million to sell it. So you make $2 million in 10 years versus $1 million at 10 years at a job with the same income.
Yeah.
Right. So you think the reward is twice as big. So you could technically make half as much as at a business and still create the same amount of equity.
Yep.
Right.
So how would you recommend somebody's listening to this and they're going, man, maybe have a business, but it's not as successful as you'd like it to be, or maybe you're not in business yet, but you'd like to get into business. How would somebody start a new business? And where does it start? Where does it begin?
Well, I think, deciding, man, that's a tough one. I think you've got to find something that makes a lot of money that you believe you can get good at.
Okay.
So whatever that is, there has to be a financial reward, and you have to be willing to get good at. And we all have skills, right? Mm-hmm. There's all skills. And I think most people, they know kind of deep down inside, here's what my skill set is. And whether or not you love it, it doesn't matter. I think God gives us all some skill sets. And once you figure out what that is, then you use that skill set. You become really, really good at it in whatever arena where you can make it profitable and you can build a business. So that's where I would start. And then I would start with leadership and sales skills. Leadership is, leading other people, leading yourself, people skills. How do you make people feel? But that's where I would start. I would start with these intangible things, such as, you're talking about having a job and how do people react at their job. Like one of the things I commonly hear people say is stuff like, it's not my job. What does that have to do with anything? So you have to get paid to do something, and so that's a mindset. But if you go above and beyond and you create value, that becomes a character trait, right? So if you're the kind of person and people know you as, hey, you said you were going to do something, you did it, and you went above and beyond, you over-delivered it, and they start going, oh my gosh, that's who this person is. Now you have credibility. And when people would come into business all the time, I would say, listen, there's I can teach you almost everything, but there's a couple of things I can't teach you. And the things I can't teach you are desire. I can't teach you desire, and I can't teach you credibility. You either have desire and have credibility or you don't, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. Now, you can build credibility over the years, but it's not something you can just wake up tomorrow and build, right? It takes credibility takes time.
There's a price. There's a price to be paid for credibility.
Yes, mm-hmm. right? And so I think those things, whether or not you have a job or you're getting ready to start a business, you can start thinking like this, and then you start having credibility. So then when you do have a job and you leave to go start your own business, people don't go, oh yeah, whatever, he'll be back. They go, no, he's the kind of guy that over-delivers. Mm-hmm. He comes through. He does what he says he's going to do. He shows up early. He stays late. He works hard. He gives it his all. Everything he's ever told us he was going to do, he did. And so then now when you have a product or a service and you're trying to get your name out there and you call those people, they don't only take you serious, but then they'll invest time with you, right? And they'll listen and they'll invest emotional energy into your product or service, which is really what we all want, right? Because the reason people don't have success is because of obscurity. Not enough people know about what they do, right?
Yep. Good. So good. I love that. I love that answer. I think, starting out, you've got to, like you said, you got to find something, something that brings value.
Yep.
I also think so whatever that might be. I mean, that might be, maybe you're going to, it doesn't matter. You could start selling styrofoam cups if that's something that was going to make a lot of money. There's got to be something that's going to provide value that you see.
Yep.
You got to believe in it. If you don't believe in it, don't even go there because you're not going to be successful. It's got to be something that you really believe that you can get behind. It's, and I'll even say life-changing, and that might be saving somebody a couple bucks on their power bill. It could be life-changing, over the course of a lifetime, right? Or we sell insurance and mutual funds, right? Those are life-changing. We believe they were life-changing products,
Yep.
So I think, you got to find something you believe in, and then you've got to develop the skills. Now, ideally, you find something that you're already skilled in, but if you're not skilled in it and the financial reward's there and you see that, man, this is going to work, a common objection people might say is, well, I'm not good at that, or that's not my personality. Well, the question is, are you willing to learn it? Like you said, there's only two things you can't teach: desire and credibility. I agree. Everything else can be taught if you want, right? So if you have enough desire, you can be taught, whether it's people skills, sales skills, whatever. And so you've got to develop those skills if you don't already have them. Now, if you're really fortunate, if you can have skills and have passion about what you're doing, that's where you can find your purpose. That's when the magic starts happening, right?
For sure.
So you got to believe it. So find something that you see as, man, this is going to be big. I believe it's going to be big. It's going to help and serve other people. And then, you got to be willing to work hard. You might not be very talented. You don't have to be very talented, because hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Right.
Okay. So now if you have talent, that's just an extra bonus, but you better be careful, because a lot of people that have talent think they can get by on talent and not work hard. And I see that a bunch, right? They feel like they're entitled for people just to pay them just because they're talented. And you're much better off if you don't have any entitlement type attitude and go, I'm going to go earn it. I mean, I hate being the talker. I hate telling people what I'm going to do. I want to go just let me go do it and let my results speak for themselves, because that's going to attract people. I'm really, man, to me, hype wears me out.
Right.
When somebody's trying to get me pumped up and excited, I'm like, it lasts for a second, maybe
right.
they've got a good, maybe their tonality's good, or their speech is good, or I hear a good song and it pumps me up, but it doesn't last.
Right.
But when I see results, then I stay motivated.
It's change.
Yeah.
Going back to fitness, it's the same thing, right? You start seeing a picture of yourself or people will start getting addicted to that change, right? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I want people, I mean, coming into our financial business and doing the same thing now with our current businesses that we're working on, is I want to develop a track record of, hey, look, you come work here, you're going to make good income. Yep. You're going to be here's our customers. Here's what they're saying about what we're doing. It's all here, and here's the proof.
Right.
And I can show it to you. So I don't have to try to convince you to do the business. If you see that and you like it, then let's go make it happen.
Right.
If you don't believe in it or you don't like it, no problem.
Right.
Now you know what I do. I know what you do. Maybe you can send some people my way. I'll send some people your way. I don't need to try to talk you into coming to work with me.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I mean, because you're looking for a certain kind of person. I mean, when you're an entrepreneur, I think, it all starts, when you get to start a business, I think it all starts with knowing what that desire is. Like, what am I trying to accomplish, right? Like, why am I doing this? What is the ultimate goal? And when you're trying to accomplish a specific thing, then you're going to get creative in accomplishing that goal. And really nothing will get in the way, because you're always looking for that solution.
Yeah.
Right? You continuously move forward towards that solution. There might be a barrier put in your way, but you don't think, oh my gosh, that barrier stops me. You think, oh, I got to go over and around or underneath, whatever I've got to do to get to the other side, because I know where I'm already going. So now I'm just looking for a way to get there regardless of what's in front of me.
Yeah.
And that's why desire is so important, and knowing what you're trying to accomplish. And that's why a lot of times when you're starting a business, like, why are you doing it? What are you trying to accomplish?
Yeah.
Trying to make $100,000 a year? You trying to change the world? Are you trying to build a legacy for your family? Do you just want to have enough money to, I don't know, pay off your house? Or what is it that you want to accomplish? And then it's a lot easier to get clear. There are some people that say, I don't care what it takes. I want my product to be in the hands of every person or whatever, Mm-hmm. And then that's all they think about. They're obsessed about how do they accomplish that. Mm-hmm. And that's when you're going to start finding success, is when you get obsessed about whatever it is you're trying to accomplish.
It's interesting how a free service called Facebook became a multi-billion-dollar company.
Yep.
It's free.
Yep.
Right? Because Mark Zuckerberg wanted everybody to be using Facebook.
Yep.
And so that's a good point. I think something else that's important too is and we've talked about this in prior podcasts, is the importance of people skills when you're building a business. You sent me a message today just about people skills versus sales skills.
Yep.
And you can be a good salesman and make sales, but if you want long-term success, people skills, if you have great people skills, sales are automatic. Right. And I think a mistake that often people make is they have the attitude of, well, I don't care what anybody thinks of me. Now, I understand what they mean. There's actually a book out there called What Other People Think of You Is None of Your Business. Great book.
Yep.
And the point of it is, do what you need to do, and don't let other people's opinion of you keep you from living a great life. That's the point of it.
Right.
But if you want to build a successful business, you better care what other people think about you. Right. So there's two sides of that. And now you can't let the naysayers, the negative people hold you back because, they think negatively. So because they think negatively, I'm not going to do this. They don't believe in me, so I'm not going to believe myself. In that case, don't worry about what they think about you, right? But when they're, when you're out there building something, I want people to go, I don't want people to look at me and go, man, that guy's a jerk. All he cares about is making a paycheck or whatever,
right.
I want him to think, man, that guy's out there to serve the world, and that's what he cares about most. And he hasn't pressured me to do anything. I became a client of his just because I could sincerely see that it was going to help me. And
right. Well, that's reputation.
Yeah.
Right. Your reputation does matter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, before I go eat at a restaurant or stay at a hotel, I pull up Yelp, right? And I look at it. I want to know, what are the reviews? And that is a company's reputation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think while I'm not going to allow what other people think of me to stop me from accomplishing what I'm trying to accomplish, it does matter to me that how I responded in situations where my character and integrity were on the line, that I responded correctly. It's important. You need to do the right thing. And we always know what it is. Sometimes it's hard, because sometimes in business it costs you money. And so sometimes people say, man, if there's a win-lose situation, let's face it, not every situation in business is win-win. We would love that every situation is going to be, but even you and I have been in situations where there was a choice you had to make. Like when I went, when we got our SNSD promotion, it cost you money, right?
Initially, yeah.
Yeah, and so it was a choice where it benefited me, but not you. And so you made that win-lose decision based on a leader,
Mm-hmm.
And obviously people like me, I think people pay attention to that and respect those decisions, right? And I think that's where you earn a reputation and integrity of people saying, hey, when they're in a situation, they do the right thing.
Yeah.
And you can never take that back. It's not like you can redo that.
Yeah.
You get one chance to make the right decision. And so often we're selfish and prideful and egotistical that we make decisions just out of trying to protect ourselves rather than trying to help other people around us, and realizing those other people around us will naturally want to protect us if we do what's right for them.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that with age comes that wisdom there.
Where
when you're younger, you're so worried about what are people going to think of me? And you start getting older and you start realizing these things. I think we should talk about this. I think we should talk about if we were going to go back and do it over again. I mean, in our early stages of our careers, I'll share and you share too. What would we do differently if we were to do it again?
Yeah.
And something that comes to mind is you gotta go through the grind, right? I kind of get like, kind of rubs me the wrong way a little bit when I hear the word grind. I don't know that that's the right way to describe it. I guess if that works for you, that's awesome. If that makes you feel like, oh yeah, I'm in the grind right now. I'm grinding it out. I mean, look, if anybody is willing to go and grind it out, it's me.
Yeah.
I'm willing to do it, right?
Yeah.
I just don't know that that's the most healthy way to do it. So I'll just say this. If I were to go back and do it again, a couple things that I would do differently that I think would actually be more effective is, number one, recognize that what I was doing and the value I was providing was valuable enough to be able to do a better job of setting my schedule and being willing to have times where I was available and times where I was just not available. I wish I would have said, okay, this week, and so let's say I would say my years 1 through 3, especially years 2 and 3 in my business were the most, where I put the most hours in, the most effort, the most energy in my business. And then years 4 and 5, I still worked pretty hard. And then 6 and on, I really was set up to have a really awesome free life because great teammates, right? And a great business. But even though those first two, and this is easier said than done, and maybe I'm misremembering. So you can give me your opinion. I won't be offended either way. So, but I look back and I go, man, I wish even during those years, and I didn't have kids at the time, so I didn't. But I still wish I would have taken some time, maybe on a monthly basis. And leaders would talk about this. Reward yourself. I didn't really reward myself. I didn't, because to me, taking time off was. I didn't like it. Like I didn't enjoy time off. So maybe that's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
And maybe there's a stage where
I feel the same way. Taking time off early on in my career was more stressful to me than it would have been taking the time off.
Yeah. And maybe that's a blessing. Maybe that's that season of life. And I think we all, so as I'm talking through this right now, I'm going, okay, what would I do that different?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of things I would have done different. I'm so grateful for the things that I did right. There are a lot of things that I have done wrong, probably more wrong than right. Mm-hmm. And so what would I have done different? I think a lot of things, right? I would have done a lot of things trying to, early on I was just so like threatened, man. I was so like nervous, right? Is this going to happen? Am I good enough? Can I do this? And so everything was out of like this, I have to prove it to everybody.
Out of fear.
Yes.
Out of fear.
All fear-based.
Yeah.
And I wrote here, don't worry, it's going to happen, right? I wish I could tell myself at the beginning, like, don't worry, dude, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like you got this.
Yeah.
It would be so nice. I think just to release that pressure, because I just wanted to win so bad that I was willing to do whatever it took, like I didn't care if I had to work 23 hours a day. Like genuinely, I was working as hard as my body would let me.
And enjoying it, really.
I loved it.
I was too.
I was offended if you would try to get me to stop. Like that's how much I loved it. I genuinely was not doing it out of, nobody was pressuring me. Nobody was, right? But are there some things that I would have changed? Yeah, but I think a lot of it would have been about my attitude. Mm-hmm. Just things that I would tell my earlier self. Like a lot of things we talk about here. You're providing a lot of value. You are attract the masses by providing great value. People are just starving for leadership, starving for a good, wholesome environment where they feel like they can accomplish their goals and people are going to treat them good and that they have a legitimate opportunity to actually provide their dreams for their family, right? People want these things, and these were the things we were offering. And so I just wish that I could have told myself at the beginning, like, don't worry, like now I'm good, right? But I think it's so much easier for someone to say once you're financially independent, you're totally free and you're living in a space of, like last night I was telling my wife, we were sitting on our back patio, I go, like, we're so blessed, Yeah, I want more. There's a lot, but like I'm so grateful I get to live this life. Mm-hmm. But I think if I could have just told myself those things along the way, how much different I would have operated, how much better I would have treated people, mm-hmm. and then how much bigger I would have gotten.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think for me too, I think it's recognizing that if I will plan properly and execute, then I can be really effective. So what I mean by that is I could take an hour and get more done in 1 hour than a lot of people get done in an entire day.
Yes.
I mean, I believe I do that a lot these days. I think I can be very effective. I can get a ton done in a very short period of time if I sit down, focus, and just get after it.
Yep.
And so that gets exciting too. And that now that's because I've had years and years of experience and knowing maybe who to call or the right moves to make, and not that they're always the right moves, but making moves.
It's the sharpening the saw. Right? Mm-hmm. That your skills, your relationships, it takes a lot of years to get to that place.
It does. And then as you build that credibility and you make those calls and you ask people for favors or help, they're more than willing to help you because they know you would do the same for them. Mm-hmm. And your life just starts to work really well because of the years and years of maybe you serving them and vice versa. And they've served you, and you build those relationships. So
yeah, for sure. I think that is the reward that takes so much time that people get impatient to see. And this is why I tell people it's almost like once the floodgates of wealth open up, they just open. And that's why, because I think it takes so many years to build that reputation, the character, the experience, the wisdom, the skill set, the team of people around you. And once you have those, it's like things work really well, and people love to work with other people who have a lot of success, especially successful people, right? And that's why, that's why like-minded people end up working together. Yep. And that's why it really is a small world, because you think alike and you end up working with similar people.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important to have thinking that attracts, people that want to be mega successful or on their way to becoming successful, right?
Right. What about this one? If it was meant to be, it'd be easy. How about that? As what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's funny, man. Maybe this might be controversial. People used to say, man, it's just so hard. I think if God wanted me to, if this is where God wanted me to be, I wouldn't be going through all this. I say, no, this is God telling you suck.
You got to get better.
Right? That's what he's telling you. You suck. Like, dude, just get better, right? Like, yeah, I don't think God puts us through anything, man. I just don't imagine that he's up there like a little kid with the magnifying glass, like how can I make this guy's life horrible? No, you just suck. Like, just get stronger, just get better, and it's okay. It's okay to, and again, that goes back to society where I think a lot of men think that it's not okay to be stressed or vulnerable or like, man, this is hard, like a lot of men think it's okay for things to be hard, right? It's okay. It's like I was telling my son the other day, your kids fight, and my youngest is 4 and my oldest is 8. Well, they're just getting ready to turn 4 and 8, but my 4-year-old's getting strong, and so they'll like play fight, and my 4-year-old reaches up, pop my 8-year-old, and he like got his feelings so hurt, and I said, look, dude, like in life, we're going to get hurt sometimes, but how we respond to when we get hurt is what matters, and it's like, do we get in this attack mode or, we're going to get hurt. It's just not always easy. And so when it is, how we respond to that situation, like, dang, my little brother just hit me. I never expected it, but how you respond to that moment will determine what he's going to do in the future again too.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for people to know, like, as you're getting started on your journey to success, or you've been there, it's okay to let people know, like, hey, I need help with this area, because people want to help you. You've just got to be real enough none of us are Superman, So I think that's an important thing. And that leads me to another thing I wanted to say is I think people rise and fall based on our expectations of ourselves and other people around us.
True. Life will give you what you're willing to accept, right?
Yeah.
Or expect.
Yeah. And so I think it's an important thing as well. It's like I said, it's okay to be grateful, but your expectations, raise them, because it's what creates this uncomfortable feeling of, man, I want more. I whether it's a nicer car or a bigger house or more financial freedom, or I don't know, you have a dream, whatever it is. You want to give more money to charity, you want to give more to your church, you want to help with human trafficking, you want to. There's so many things that very wealthy people could help a lot of people if they had more money. I sent my wife this Instagram account I follow, and this guy just gives away money every day is what he does, right? But he walks up to someone and says, hey, he's got 10 grand in cash. And he goes, hey, I've got $1,000 or $10,000. And if you take 1,000, you can have 1,000, or you can give $10,000 away to somebody right now in the store.
So you have to choose. You can either get one or the other.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so one person takes 1,000, so he goes to the next person and gives them a choice. And the guy goes, I'd love to give away 10,000 to someone. He goes, okay, you got 30 seconds to find someone. So he goes, he finds this mom in the store. She got a brand new baby. He gives her $10,000. She breaks down crying. And the guy goes, since you were generous and gave $10,000 away, I actually have $10,000 to give to you, right?
Wow.
And he just breaks down crying.
That's awesome.
And like, you think about those things, right? How awesome would it be for people to be in a situation where you genuinely can impact people's lives and make a difference in them? And people say, well, money isn't everything. But at that moment, imagine the stress reliever and the impact and the emotional connection you make with somebody simply because you're willing to be generous at that moment.
Yeah. It could end up changing a life.
Yeah.
Just like that. I'm sure that did change both of those people's lives.
10 grand, yeah, for most people, right? Especially in the world today.
Not even just right then, but their future from here on out. They will always remember that, and chances are they're going to live their life in accordance to what that experience.
Yeah.
Who knows what that might mean? That might mean, I'm going to go do something. I want to do this to more people. I want to go, so yeah.
It's that expectation thing though, right? Like, just raise your expectations. If your life's pretty good right now, raise your expectation to get uncomfortable, to want more.
Yeah. I think, just talking about being uncomfortable, and I mean, there's a lot of, maybe belief out there that it just needs to flow, and although I agree you need to get your life on the right path, sometimes that's going to take, not sometimes, I think all the time, it takes hard work to get there, right?
Yeah.
No different than we keep talking about fitness, right? Well, if you're out of shape, it's not going to be, you're not going to just flow and get into shape, right? You're going to have to go and actually put in some effort and get uncomfortable and put some pressure on yourself. And so pressure's not bad. Pressure creates diamonds, you know? So when we have pressure, the only way you can get stronger is to go through those challenging times to get better, and, don't fight it. I mean, if you're doing what is good and you're doing what's right, then keep going, and I think if you spend the time and effort to get good, instead of trying to force it or control it, I think what the mistake maybe sometimes people make, and I've done myself, is I want it to happen sooner than it's going to happen.
Right.
I got to put forth the time and effort first. Then it'll automatically happen. Right. It's like, I think, the country right now, obviously it's important that we have a strong military. Yep. But, we're reading in Isaiah right now in the Bible, just about the importance of, fortify yourself, make sure you're living right, and we'll be protected. We live in the promised land. That's the answer. Right. We don't even need a military if we would actually just live the right way, because we will be protected. Right. But as human beings, we're always seeking the easy path and trying to avoid the hard things. I mean, and there's always, right, if you set out with an intention to accomplish something, you just have to know that there usually is a specific journey along the way. Mm-hmm. And along that journey, there are challenges and obstacles, and it's usually darkest right before the sun comes up. And that's usually what happens with people's journey. It's like it takes this time of learning and challenges and struggles, and then and it's like right when it seems like it's never going to happen, boom, it happens. Mm-hmm. I think we use hunting as a good example, right? It takes a lot of effort and energy to prepare to hunt, and then the physical energy it takes to hunt. Big time. And then when you get that animal, that reward or that success is like, it makes it all worth it, right? Yeah, I could go over that. I mean, I'll give you one specific example. When we were hunting, I don't think I've told this story before on this podcast, but we were in Wyoming hunting deer. In fact, that deer that's behind you right here is the one that I'm talking about. Awesome. So we went up there with my dad and my uncle, and first day went up. We were riding our mules up the canyon, and first morning, and there's 3 or 4 mules ahead of me. I'm in the very rear. And we just happened to come across a big herd of elk, and they're bugling and they're rutting. It's in September. They're just making all this noise. And my mule was from Kansas and had never been around elk. Okay. So this herd of elk comes right behind my mule. My mule goes from 0 to 60, just starts. So I'm like, when I wasn't ready, right? So I just get totally thrown off into the sticks. He bucks you off. Oh man, I was, yeah. And plus, I don't ride mules or horses hardly at all, so I'm not like an expert at it. Otherwise, I might have been able to stay on him. But anyway, so I got thrown off. So I get back on. We keep going a little further, and then I look up on the mountain, and I go, "Hey guys, stop!" And there were 2 deer, and I could tell they were bucks, but the sun was just starting to come up, still pretty dark. So I put my binoculars up. I go, "That one's a giant. They're both good deer. But one was a giant." So I get off my mule. I'm still shaken up from getting thrown off the mule. And just tried to get on them, and I just couldn't. They ended up walking up over the mountain, didn't get them, right? So that was kind of a high and low first day. And this will just kind of go along with darkest before the dawn, because this happens in hunting. It's like it happens in life. So we hunted the rest of that day. It was super hot. Didn't see anything else the rest of the day. Next day comes along, and next day I go out with my dad and another guy that was in Wyoming. If you're on wilderness area, you have to be with a guide, right? So we had a guide with us. And so, and I was with my dad, and we're riding across the top of a mountain that day. We weren't seeing anything. It was still hot. And my dad was behind me, and all of a sudden I hear his mule just go crazy, right? These stupid mules. And he gets thrown off. Okay. The bad part is he gets thrown off. We were on a steep mountain, so he got thrown off on the steep side of the mountain. And all I hear is whoa, whoa, whoa. And then I hear this thud. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my dad's going to be dead. I'm freaking out. So I turn around and come riding up to him, and he's like trying to get off the ground. His head's bleeding. I'm like, Dad, you all right? He's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm all right. I'm all right. So I'm like, okay. So he's like trying to catch his breath. He got his wind knocked out of him. So that happens, right? And we end up getting him down the canyon, and we end up, when we get home, find out he broke like 3 or 4 ribs.
Oh, dang.
On that fall. It was bad. Anyway, so then the next day comes, and my dad goes, I'm just going to stay at camp today and try to rest up, and I better not go out today. So my uncle was there. So my uncle and I went out the next day. We're clear up top of this canyon, and this crazy blizzard comes in out of nowhere. And we were like hunkered down for several hours, lit a fire. It was freezing cold. We're again way up on the top of the mountain, and then the weather breaks, right? And so I walk up to this ridge where I can start glassing this big area. And as I'm doing that, I see this deer. He's like a mile and a half away, but I see him like walking towards us, and then there's 2 others.
Yeah.
Actually 3 others. And another one, there's 2 good deer, him and another one. Anyway, they end up coming down to a spot where I go grab my uncle. He was still down by the fire. I go, hey, there's 2 good deer here. Let's go see if we can get close. So we did. We ended up going in and being able to. And so just all this stuff happened, and then the weather breaks, and we got these 2 deer coming in. And so I killed mine, and mine was dead, and then his was right next to it, and he shot his like right next to mine. We had 2 good deer down.
Yeah.
Like this happened, right? And then the next day, my dad gets up, and they had this little donkey, looked like Eeyore, like real low to the ground, so he could get on it because he was so hurting. Got him on that one, and then got up and got him. We got him a deer that next morning, good deer. So all 3 of us got really good deer. But it was a lot of crap that happened.
Yep.
And that's life, and that's business, right? That's just one hunt, but
every
hunt goes
quit
that way.
when those challenges happen, right? Or let's go home, or we'll just hang out for a day, let the weather pass, or whatever.
Most guys probably would have said, I got to get to the hosptal and go. My dad's like, I'm all right.
Yeah. That's
crazy.
That's success. Right? It really is. It's just, and I think anybody has the ability to succeed. Not everybody's willing to go through the challenges to get to the other side to actually meet it. Right. And that's just and I think that comes back to when it comes to success, is like feeling like you have a moral obligation to win. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. I've always felt like I had this moral obligation, that it was this sense of purpose, or, I'm supposed to be successful. I'm supposed to win. I'm supposed to provide my family a great life. And it was never really an option for me. One of the things I used to always tell people is that if success is an option for you, it will never be an option for you. Mm-hmm. It can't be an option. If you're going to win at something, you just have to choose, okay, I'm going to win at this. Mm-hmm. And look for whatever you have to do to make that thing win. Yeah.
You said moral obligation there. I think that's heavy, right? It's heavy, and I agree. We do have a moral obligation, and I think that for those that may be feeling down and out right now, maybe you feel like, man, I'm not doing my job as a husband, as a provider to my family. That's a tough place to be in. I've been there, and it's not a fun place to be. To get out of that situation, I would just recommend start reaching out to people, start making some phone calls and having conversations with people. You got to be willing to do the work to get you out of that situation.
Yeah.
And I would start striving for, if you want to hang out with successful people, successful people hang out with successful people. I'm not successful yet. How do I get in those circles? Well, you got to start. You got to start self-improving. You got to start reading.
Change your habits. Again, look for someone to serve. Go work for somebody who's successful. Yep. You're not gonna meet new people doing the same things. Mm-hmm. Right? And if you want to change your life, you need to meet new people. Yeah. You need to have new friends, new relationships, new people in your life that can help you get further. Yep. Right? Yeah. If you're hanging out at the bar every night, or things like that, you're probably not in the right environment to. If you haven't been going to the gym, join a gym. Yes. Start meeting some people there. Join some classes. Go. If there's mountain biking in your area, get a mountain bike. Go mountain bike with some people, and you just got to get out there. I mean, I think so. So, I feel for you if you're out there, and that's where you're at right now, because it is my moral obligation to provide for our families. And I think that there's comfort for me, and hopefully there's comfort in me saying this to somebody out there, that if you recognize that and you're doing what you're supposed to do, God will bless you. He will bless you. You will overcome.
and you will provide a great life for your family. You just got to get those things that you don't have in order right now in order.
Right.
You're not a bad person. There's nothing wrong with you. Just start making, you don't have to be perfect.
Right.
You can keep falling off the horse and making mistakes. Just readjust. Just get back on the path. Every day.
Right.
Every day I screw up.
Yep.
Multiple times.
Yep.
And I just try to get back on track,
Yeah.
Try not to I've learned as I get older not to beat myself up as much as I used to.
Right.
I think you should still feel some guilt. You should have those feelings. If you do something wrong, you should feel guilty. I think if you do something wrong, you don't feel guilty, you're turning into a psychopath. You should feel some of that.
Yeah, it's called conscience.
It's called conscience.
Yes.
So, I mean, you got to have that feeling. So that's an indicator, says, okay, I got to get back. And it doesn't mean you got to go and shame yourself and all that crap, right? You might feel some of that shame for a second, but just, hey, look, you recognize you're human. We all do it. We all make mistakes. That thing you messed up on is going to be a great story later, right? It's going to bless somebody's life later if you'll allow it to.
Yeah, I think, I mean, there's no reason to beat yourself up. I mean, the world will kick your ass enough. You don't need to add to it, so you just got to get stronger and change habits. And if you need help, ask and build new relationships. And it's not going to happen overnight. I think a lot of times we all are so impatient. You said it today. You wanted your success to happen so much faster, and we felt like there was something we could do to microwave it, and we can't. There's nothing we can do to microwave it. I'm so grateful for that now.
If you end up getting lucky and having more reward than what you've paid for, it'll just come back to where you're at, right?
Yes.
Like you've got to continue to raise your level of whatever that is.
It's the thermostat, the thermometer philosophy, right? Like, I mean, what's going to happen financially, and you see it with people who win lotteries. They win a lottery, they win a lot of money, and their financial thermostat is set at, whatever broke. And so even though they won the lottery, they end up broke again. And so you've got to raise your financial thermostat that says, hey, here's who I am. Here's who I see myself as. And you're going to attract it if you don't have it, or if you have more than that, you'll get rid of it to match it too.
Had a lunch with a guy yesterday, a good friend of mine, and he's been very successful in his life and done very well. He's made a lot of money. He's lost a lot of money, made a lot of money, and he just said, look, he says, one, I'll never stop working. He says, I'm always going to continue to work because it's healthy to do that and have purpose. But he said that all money does is it's a big time magnifying glass. So whatever your weaknesses are, if you make a lot of money, those weaknesses are just going to be magnified. So make sure you're working on, on things so that when you do really well and make a bunch of money or whatever that is, not just money, but have a lot of success, that you're magnifying who you want to, because everything, your great things everything gets magnified.
Yes.
Because you can do more. And
it is the great magnifier for sure.
Yeah. So anyway.
Well, it gives you options.
It does.
It gives you options, and it gives you options to express yourself pretty much however you want at some point if you got enough money, right? And so that's why great people do good things with money, and bad people do bad things with money. Mm-hmm. That's why we need more good people to become really wealthy.
Yep.
We need to continue to provide an environment and be the people that attract others to want to get wealthy because of our character, reputation, integrity. And that's the man that I strive to be. Mm-hmm. I want my kids to grow up and feel grateful that they got to grow up in the kind of family that we built. I want them to be, Bill Whittle always would tell me, he goes, Jeff, when you grow up, and I think we might even mention this when Blake was on the podcast, so when your children grow up, you want your children to be so excited to get out of your house so that they can go duplicate what they had the blessing of being raised in. He goes, most parents raise children in an environment, those children can't wait to get out, to get away.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference.
Big difference, yeah.
Right? It's like you don't want your children to stay with you and be dependent forever. Mm-hmm. You want them to go, man, this was so awesome. I can't wait to get out of here and go create my own. I want to build my own family and this incredible life that I got to grow up in and be a part of. And then, unfortunately, there's, like me, when I was a kid, I just couldn't wait to get out. I mean, I moved out when I was young. I was just trying to leave,
Yeah.
And that's an unfortunate thing. Mm-hmm. And so I think one of the intentional things I try to do as a man is just when I'm learning these things, or like last night I was telling you, I was reading Proverbs, and I'm highlighting going through it, and I'm so excited. And I go in, my son was laying down getting ready for bed, And I just lay down and I start reading some of that stuff to him, right? The stuff that I've highlighted. I go, hey, check this out. I thought you would enjoy some of this, And then he wakes up this morning and he comes in and he goes, hey, Dad, I just want to show you what I drew. And he drew, and what he was drawing was his affirmations. And I just think like these little things that I didn't expect, that me just going in and being excited about what I was reading and just sharing with my son. And then you can see like signs his name at the top, but he just writes his affirmations.
Awesome.
This is my 7-year-old. So he writes, I am worthy. I love my family loves me. I love Jesus. Jesus loves me. I love myself. I love my family. I love my sister. I love my brother. I love my dad. I love my mom. I love God. I love my house. I am grateful and I will be good.
I love it.
So I was like, just cool, like he wakes up this morning like, Dad, you got to check this out. It's like how, and those small things we do, I think start having impacts on our lives, and I just think like there's a win, but there's some days as a father, I get mad and whatever. And I feel bad that I got mad over something dumb or whatever. So we're never perfect, and it's going to happen in business. It's going to happen with our family. It's going to happen with our spouses.
Yep.
The goal is get better every single day and continue to change the way we think, because if we change the way we think, we respond differently. And I told you this the other day, and I think, if you want, we can wrap up on this, is one of the things that I think are most important to me is how I respond to a situation that I'm in, whether that's with my wife, with my kids, in business. But how do I respond? Yeah, there's going to be things happen in life, but the way I respond is more important to me than the actual situation itself. So if I respond correctly, then I can look back on it and go, I did what I was supposed to do. I responded correctly. And I don't always. In fact, I make more mistakes than ever. But I try to. That is my goal, is just saying, hey, what is the best? I've responded incorrectly with you many times, right? And then there's been other times. And I think at the end of the day, if we can all just get better at that, then what's going to happen is people are going to watch us respond correctly, and it's going to inspire them to want to do the same thing. I know it has for me. I've watched you and many other people in my life that have made a decision to think like an entrepreneur, think like a business owner, think like a successful individual, think like somebody who's trying to win, think like somebody who looks at it as a moral obligation.
Yeah.
And then just try to model that behavior, and then it changed my life, right?
Yep, it's really good. Yeah, and I think if we do respond wrong, then being willing to say, sorry, I didn't. That's not how I would like to respond. I'd like to, apologize for that and do better next time. And that goes a long way for people.
Yeah, saying sorry, I think is a big thing. And that was hard for me for a lot of years. I think coming from this place of like wanting to prove my worth to the world, like I'm valuable, I am somebody. See, I made a lot of money or whatever. Where I just, I don't think that way anymore, but I did for a long time, and it was hard for me just to admit, like, hey, none of us are perfect.
Yeah.
We all mess up.
Yeah, the amount of trust you build with somebody when you're willing to do that, that's where I think a lot of relationships are built. You know, when because usually you say, "Oh man, I'm sorry I didn't respond the way I should have." Yeah. What do? They do the same thing. Oh no, man, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that, or I shouldn't have done that as well. And that's where hey, we're good, man. We'll just. I mean, I think a great relationship is one where you both have the freedom to make mistakes and know that you're both going to make mistakes, and still be willing to go, look, let's just continue to move forward and get better and self-correct and correct each other as we need to. And that's where great partnerships and great marriages and great relationships with our kids. I think that's a lot of it right there. I mean, I hope my kids feel like they can make mistakes and it's okay. Yeah. And I'm here, and I hope they come talk to me, and I think they normally do. And my wife does a great job of being a good sounding board for, my oldest daughter. She's 16 now, right? So
you're in the thick of it.
Oh boy! Yep. So fortunately, she'll come and tell Lexi everything and anything, which is awesome. And I try to tell her too. Look, there's nothing you could ever do that would ever make me feel less of you, and I want you to share anything or everything you need to share. No judgment on my part. Life can be challenging. There's things that are going to happen that you have no control of, that you're going to make mistakes. Mm-hmm. I want to help you. Right. And so I can't help you if I don't know what's going on. I can't promise you I won't be upset sometimes, but that's okay, right? It's awesome, dude. It reminds me one time I was having a struggle with someone in our organization.
And because my point is, you can make this with your children if we operate out of love, you know. And I remember I was so frustrated with this person. I called you, and I'm just like, dude, I don't know how to handle it. And you said to me, you go, Jeff, if they were your children, how would you respond? Like, how would you treat your children in this situation? And I remember thinking, I just went from like this defensive, like, you know, frustrated, mad, you know, to like, oh yeah, you know, I probably would respond totally different, right? Mm-hmm. And that's because I was doing it out of that time. I was responding out of anger and frustration versus I think most of the time I try not to respond out of anger with my children. It happens still sometimes,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
But more often than not, because you love your children so much, it's a lot easier to respond with love. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a great leadership lesson in general, whether you're leading a family or you're leading, you know, a business or whatever it is, having the humility to operate out of love. Oh. You know, just sometimes it's uncomfortable, especially with men, like building a relationship, you know, and, you know, men are, I think, these naturally, like, they want to be tough guys and hold everything in and not tell anybody anything, or building a relationship and telling people you appreciate the relationship is uncomfortable for people to do. Yeah. Not realizing when you start doing that, it builds these bonds that are irreplaceable. And those are what allow you to become successful, because, you know, it's like raising children. It takes a community or a village to raise a child, and it's true. It does. Mm-hmm. Whether you like it or not, it does take a village to raise a child, but it also does the same thing for a leader. You know, your response, the leader you become, is because of the people around you, whether it was people you recruited and you were leading or the people you were following. But all of those people are going to have an impact on who you become long term, right?
Yeah. Amen.
So
good stuff today, man.
Awesome. Yeah, dude. Appreciate you bringing all this wisdom and insight to everybody today.
You too, man. All the preparation and reading you do. I mean, you bring so much value. It's just it's awesome. So I appreciate it.
Well, you as well, much. Man. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, that was episode 16, and hopefully you got a lot out of it. You know, I'm so excited about these podcasts, and we're getting so much feedback. If you guys would continue, please make sure so we can, you know, break that algorithm and make sure you share the podcast. If you'll rate it, if you'll comment on it, please. We would appreciate that. We want to get this information out to as many people as possible. We have so much fun doing it, and hope you enjoy it as well. Remember, stay solid.